Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and I am here with our favorite social justice activist on the What You Need to Know newsletter. Hello, Coy Malone. How
Hey
you
Sybil, how
doing?
you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Thank you. And I'm so glad to welcome back a funny lady, one of the funniest around, and she's out there just doing the darn thing. And welcome back on this day, Alycia Cooper. How are you?
I'm good, Sybil. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I am really good and very happy that you both are here today. I think we got a lot. This is just a day in which a lot is going on. But Alycia, give us a little update on how things are going for you. I know you're busy and you got TV appearances and you're working on other parts of your
Yes.
craft. What's going on?
Yes, I just taped an episode of Kenan on NBC that'll come on in 2022. It's for their second season. I think it's the finale episode of the second season. And I was in 4 scenes of that, and it was a lot of fun being able to riff with Chris Red and Kenan. And, we all got to use our skills as stand-up comics, and we were just having a good time. They were so much fun. Those guys are so talented and so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kenan's in everything. He's
Yeah,
doing SNL,
yeah,
Kenan,
yeah.
commercials, films. I don't know when he has time to sleep,
I
but he is
know.
Right.
so cool. So it was just a great experience. And I'm directing. So that's what I'm really trying to move over into. I'm trying to take my acting skills and move it over into the directing arena. So I've done my 3 short films and my independent episodic of television. And I spent the whole weekend in a 2-day DGA workshop, an intensive workshop where
So
they
for
took us
folks who
through
don't know,
everything.
Directors Guild of America, right?
Yes, the
That's okay.
Directors Guild of America, and it's a fabulous union. And I'm trying to get my first episode of TV. And what happens with that union, when you get hired to do your first episode of television, you have to go back to the DGA, and they get you prepared for your first episode. They're like, "You're not embarrassing us up in here."
So that was a part of the workshop? Was that how it
Well,
worked?
the part of the workshop was getting you prepared for your first episode, but when you
Okay.
get hired for your first episode, they help you prepare for that episode on that show so that
Wow.
you can go in ahead of the curve.
That's awesome. And get this, Coy. This is how hardworking people like Alycia are. Not only was she going in this intensive workshop, but then she hits the club to work on her stand-up craft as well after she
Yeah.
finishes the day-long workshop. So that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I had a show Friday night, Saturday night, and 2 shows last night at the Laugh Factory. And who comes in to work on his material but Kevin Hart? He was a surprise special guest. So the audience was just elated to see him walk out on that stage. And it was good to watch him work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Nice.
to work with, I love Chris Red. He's from
Yes.
the Midwest, and I had an opportunity to meet him when he came through the Joiner
Yeah.
show a couple of times, and
Yeah.
he's a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah,
He
he said he's
really
from
is.
Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he is. I mean, they're so talented, and they just make it look easy when it's not.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm really glad that Keenan is, every opportunity that's coming his way is just exploding exponentially
Yes,
for him. And
yes,
for somebody who's been doing this as long as he has, you're just really glad for everything that comes about, the movies, as you say, his own TV
yes,
show and of
yes.
course Saturday Night Live. That's great. Absolutely great.
Absolutely.
And I say that's going to be happening for you very soon.
Thank you. I'm gonna reach out to Kenan and ask Kenan, can you let me do an episode season 3? I'm already predicting that it's gonna be picked up. So I'm gonna ask
Exactly.
Kenan. Hey, Kenan, put in a word for a sister.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's check out a young sister here, Coy Malone. What's going on with you? How are things?
Things are going pretty well. In the life of adulting,
That's what we call it.
it's
Coy,
just
Coy is going through what we're calling adulting here,
Yes.
Alycia. And so we have the many
Yeah, I've been
adventures of.
adulting for like 6, 7 decades now, Coy. I can help
yeah.
you with anything you need.
One of the things I'm noticing is just a lot of people like to kind of feel like or act as if the old saying goes, the grass is greener on the other side. It's actually greener where you water it.
Mm,
Oh,
mm,
good
Okay.
point,
It
okay,
Coy.
is
all right.
not, you think things look great because it's, off in the distance and it looks shiny and sparkly and it's a promise of something new. And then you get into it and it's just like, dang, I should have stayed where I was at, where you put in your most work, your most effort, um, and where you think the most positively. Those are the things that are going to connect with you and come to fruition. It's just what it is. It's
Before we
just what
move
it
to
is.
topical, I'm just going to say this sounds like something I've had in my personal relationships in the past. Right? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So let's move to what's going on out in the world. And amid a great deal of fanfare in topical news, the infrastructure bill has been passed and signed, not just passed, it was signed at the White House today. A big hoop-de-doo with the president out there, the vice president, all the folks that work so hard to make this infrastructure bill a reality. And so they are celebrating the infrastructure bill win. He took the victory lap this afternoon, and they're looking at what this actually means in terms of, as I like to say, what that mean, and how soon and who's going to get it, because this is an infrastructure bill when we're talking about roads and railroads, bridges, electric vehicles, as well as, and this is the most important thing I think for overall most of the country. I'm not saying that the roads and the highways and byways are not important, but this is going to make a lot of difference for people in the country who have not had broadband internet.
And that is so crazy that we've gone
That's
this
crazy.
long and people have not had internet that is pretty much high speed in all major cities in every state.
And this, Alycia, was especially was highlighted and made a point of during the pandemic and quarantine, when children needed all of these abilities to communicate with their teachers and each other, and a lot of them were sitting in the parking lots of restaurants in order to get their work done.
Yeah, and it also showed the divide between the poor, or the haves, and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Because the have-nots definitely didn't have Wi-Fi at home, and the kids were struggling.
Yeah.
But what always was curious to me was why these people would vote for Donald Trump. He got Wi-Fi, and he made sure you had nothing.
Right.
There's some of the poorest states vote Republican, and those people never cared about whether or not you had what you needed to educate your children. So it's always curious to me how people vote against their own interests. But I'm glad that he was able to get this passed. There's a street in LA, Laurel Canyon. It cuts from the valley going down to Hollywood.
Right.
Every time I'm going down Laurel Canyon, my signal cuts off. I need him to put a couple of them towers right over there on Laurel Canyon so I can continue these business calls.
So that's the funny thing, Alycia, because I used to live off of Barham, off of the 101, and you get to a certain part, you got Warner Brothers across the street, and you get up to a certain area, and it's like, hello?
You're like, Oprah girl, I guess I'll call you back.
Right. Exactly. So next on the docket for the president and the vice president, who's really catching hell, by the way, is the debt ceiling and the economic bill that is still there. They're going to be turning to negotiations on the separate multi-trillion-dollar economic bill that expands the nation's social safety net, as well as the government funding and debt ceiling, which are both set to expire the first week of December. If I'm not mistaken, it's like December 3rd. We're talking about keeping the government running and the debt ceiling. So, and those are two separate things, by the way. So good on you, Mr. President. But now let's get back to work. You got Mitch Landrieu, who is the former mayor of New Orleans, to make sure that all of these, all of the monies are being appropriated and distributed correctly to people around the country. But what that look like for us is the question. On a sad note, the 9th and 10th deaths have been confirmed as a result of Travis Scott's Astroworld catastrophe. The latest came last night, and this is 9-year-old Ezra Blunt. He was a little boy who went to the concert with his dad, was on his dad's shoulders, and they said that he was far back, but as the crowd moved forward, they got caught up and swept away. The father lost consciousness. Ezra fell, and when the father regained consciousness, he couldn't find his son. He went to the hospital, and they had not identified him. He was a baby doe, a kid doe. And he had been on life support had been put into a coma and had been on life support, and finally succumbed to his injuries. And just a horrific. And in the 9th victim was a young woman who was a student at Texas A&M. And just to see her mother talking about her daughter was another one of those horrific things. And so let me ask you all this, because this happened over the weekend in a discussion with people of varying ages, like a 16, 17-year-old up to 50s. And so the kind of conversation, the kind of information, I should say, that's coming out as a result of this, all the conspiracy theories and the, going in after Travis Scott. And I'm not saying that he does not deserve to bear some responsibility for this, but all of these conversations, are you finding different forms of information and having these discussions about what is true and what isn't, Alycia?
Yeah, I mean, because at first we heard about some people being injected with stuff through
Yeah,
needles, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
then they said
Mhm.
the security guard wasn't injected.
Mhm.
So as the reports come out, they're conflicting. You don't know what to believe. Like you said, then people that were there were like it was a demonic force. You saw the fire, and it was like demons were there, and
Right, right.
so you don't know what's going on. I wasn't there. I'm not the Travis Scott demographic.
Mhm.
But so I wasn't there. But from what I saw, it was very chaotic. When they turned, when I saw a clip, all I heard was very loud cussing. Emma Effa, Emma Effa, and I was like, "What the heck? Why are children in here?"
Yeah,
Like it was just very bizarre to me. And yeah, all the reports are it's still like so much left up in the air.
yeah.
So I'm waiting to get the facts because we are in a conspiracy theory era. You
Mhm.
don't know what to believe.
Yeah. And Coy, let me ask you, because you are in that demographic. You are, one of the amongst the 50,000 that were there. Certainly, you are right in there. But what are you hearing, and what kind of conversations are you having?
There's so many different conversations, especially about conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
I feel like that's left to personal interpretation of what was going on. You just don't really know what people were thinking and how that impacted them. A lot of different people were saying the different sounds that they were hearing resonated with sounds that you would hear, I guess, under mind control and things like that. They felt like the symbolism on the stage had
Yeah,
things to
that was
do
another thing.
with devil worship, and that the people that lost their lives were a part of some type of sacrifice that
Mhm.
happens with different celebrities that are at a certain level. And then you also see a lot of the videos showing concert goers trying their best to get staff members attention, chanting to the stage to stop the show, asking staff members to help, and you're seeing them being ignored. Now I have come across several more videos showing other concerts with Travis Scott inciting violence, kind of hyping up the crowd to get them worked up to do, mosh pits, people passing out. And he was saying that this one person that passed out was his hero that night. And then I'm seeing other concert clips of other artists that recognize when things were getting out of hand at their
Yeah.
concert, and they actually stopped the show and encouraged safety and said that they wouldn't go on until they knew this person was okay or that the situation and the chaos stopped. So, I mean, I do feel like Travis Scott was aware of what was happening. I also feel like he is, the word I like to use is zooted. He was zooted out of his mind. I think this man was very, very high when
Mm.
this stuff was going on. And when he issued his apology, I feel like he was still in the midst of whatever he was on at the time. So he didn't fully realize the level of the impact of what happened and the seriousness of what was going on until probably the next day or within the next couple of days. I've watched body language experts talk about how he issued his apology and the parts that they thought were sincere and the parts that they
Yeah.
thought were not
Now,
sincere.
does it seem like I mean, so many different stories are coming out where you have the experts, like you said, the body language experts, and then other people reporting where, they went to Dave and Buster's after the show,
Mm-hmm.
and how could they do that? And did they know, or he knew during the concert? Why didn't he, own up to it after the concert instead of going to Dave and Buster's. Now the story today, Drake, who was there and sang, performed with him, went to a strip club the next night. And what does that show in terms of contrition and things like that? So
Right.
all of these stories, and it just seems so difficult to believe.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
who do you believe is my question for a
yeah,
lot of people.
that's why I don't really go out that much these days. You know, I go to work and go home. If you're gonna
Mhm.
sacrifice me, you got to come in my living room today. 'Cause- Safety first.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm with
I'm just
you.
not big on
Yeah. I'm not.
concerts like
I've
that
not
big,
Right,
been. I've not
right.
been in a long
that big.
time, yeah, a fan of those kind of things. It has to be a special exception. Like I mentioned, the fact that I saw Stevie Wonder at Madison Square Garden, but that was years
Yeah,
ago. But
yeah.
that was the exception as opposed to the rule. I really prefer smaller venues,
And
and
Stevie doesn't hype people up to be acting
yeah,
crazy
right. It
either.
doesn't act
You know.
crazy. Yeah, well,
But I looked at that and I was like, is the pandemic over? I didn't see any masks.
right,
It was just a whole
exactly.
lot
That's
going
the
on.
other thing. That's the other thing. And that's, they said, also contributed to this, Alicia, is the fact that people had not been out or had not, weren't able
Yeah.
to attend the one last year. And
Hmm.
so, all of this energy and hype and might have been drugs and other things that contributed to this. But let us just remember Bardi Shahani. That is the young woman who was killed, and her death was confirmed over the weekend, as well as 9-year-old Ezra Blunt. And so that is the youngest victim now of the Astroworld deaths. So our prayers and wishes to their family go out, obviously. The closing arguments in the Kyle Rittenhouse case today, both
Goodness.
the defense and the prosecution. And we'll talk more about that in the What You Need to Know newsletter segment. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So stick around for that. And also, I needed to talk to two people who who understand this, because they one currently lives in California, the other grew up in California, and I lived there for a short period of time. But gas records are being set as we speak.
I'm
Alicia,
sure.
Alicia, how are you getting around? and
Shoot.
what's the last thing you paid for gas?
I think I paid like $4.29 for gas a couple weeks ago, and it's going up by the day.
Yeah.
You know, that's absolutely ridiculous. How are the Uber and Lyft drivers making a living?
Well, you're
Because
gonna pay for
they
that
pay for
too.
their own gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mm-mm.
it's like it's bad. Like everything is up right now. It's better to just walk. You know,
Pretty
because
much.
it's so expensive nowadays, and California is the worst.
Yeah, it is. California gas prices, Coy, hit $4.68 per gallon today, setting a new record for the state for a second day in a row. The price of regular unleaded was 0.6 cents higher than Sunday, reported by AAA, which broke the all-time record of $4.67. And that goes back to, that record was set in October of 2012. The largest state by population has the highest gas prices in the country, as you said, Alicia, and the national average ticked up slightly. The national average is at $3.41. The AAA said that the rainstorms in Northern California have pinched production capacity. But here's the other thing: they're also pleading with the president to open up the reserves, and so that people can so that the prices will go down, because it's killing people.
Well, he's gonna have to do something. I have a hybrid. That's what's saving me.
Yeah, me
But
too.
he's gonna
Yeah.
have to do something, especially if he wants to get reelected.
Yeah, and already not so much him getting reelected, Alicia, but getting people reelected next year, who are
Yeah.
going to be able to support him in the Congress and
Yes.
in the House and the Senate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Coy, I don't know how much you're paying in Atlanta, but is it as difficult for you as it is for the rest of us around the country?
I mean, no, I'm not really paying attention to the gas prices. I believe they're like in the upper twos, lower threes,
Oh
three
no, you need
dollars, and what
you
have you.
you you drive around.
I
I'm
do, but
pretty
I have
sure.
been limiting how much I drive. Just as of lately, recognizing that gas prices have been fluctuating a lot this year,
Hmm.
which is unusual. That the fact that we're dealing with this, and just seeing how much it is to even take Uber now. The last time I
Mhm.
was in California a few months ago, Uber was stupid expensive. I said, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have to get on the bus and the train, and I'm gonna have to possibly hitchhike half the way to the desert because I'm not trying to pay $70-$80 just to go like 20 minutes. Like this is crazy.
Yeah. And as Alycia said, she doesn't know how they're making it. That's how they're making it, because they have to increase the prices for their clients, for their travelers, their riders. Right.
My car is pretty fuel efficient. I've gotten from here to Mississippi on 1 tank of gas. So
you coast a lot. You probably get between 2 trucks and just coast a lot.
Going down a lot of hills.
Right.
I was surprised. Great gas mileage.
So let's go to what's really going on. And Alycia, I really want to hear, and you both are performers, so let me just say this, but as a comedian, Alycia, I really want to hear your conversation about this. Now, our friend Affion Crockett posted over the weekend how a white woman encountered him on his stage in Jacksonville, right? So the show came to an abrupt halt after a dissatisfied customer in the audience made her way onto our friend Affion Crockett's stage just to let him know she didn't like what he was saying. And I don't know, I don't know if you've seen it, Alycia, but it appears that she probably may have been drinking or some other thing too. So he was performing at the Comedy Zone in Jacksonville. This woman came up on stage without being invited, interrupted the proceedings. Someone captured part of this and she is getting heckled by the crowd. Affion really maintained his cool.
He did.
He really maintained his cool. So, and this woman, let's just call her what they called her on stage, Karen. Instead of just walking out of the show, she walked up and told him, she's married. She's and she didn't like the jokes that he was making about his own life. His own life. Apparently, he was talking about his sex life and his relationships. She didn't like it. But instead of saying, "Come on, Harold, we're done. Let's go," she came up on stage. So my question for what you need to know is, what is going on? What is it that people are taking their displeasure to another level? And is this unusual for either of you to see this kind of thing? I mean, we know Karens, we know that people have a way of verbalizing their displeasure with things, but seemingly it's just going to a higher and higher level. Is this just my interpretation, Alycia?
No, it definitely seems to be getting worse. And I believe the crux of it is that America has really neglected its mentally ill population. We were coming up, we had certain places, this is politically incorrect to say now, but it wasn't back then. They were called crazy houses. In DC, we had St. Elizabeth. In New York, they had Bellevue. Other places had their place that was set aside for people who are in mental distress. They got rid of all of that. So where did these people go?
Right.
A lot of them are homeless. A lot of them are on the streets. A lot of them are walking up on your stage in comedy clubs. People really have to, the lady looked mentally ill to me. And then when you mix mental illness with alcohol, and she probably peeled up, this is the cocktail that you get. But this whole walking up on stage because somebody's act you don't like. Now, I've seen people come up on stage because the banter with them they felt went too far.
Right.
You're cracking on them. You're talking about their shoot. You made it personal to them. This lady is taking this thing to a whole nother level. What we're going to need is, in the post office and all the places they got the most wanted criminals. We're going to need the Karen wanted all across the comedy club. So when you see this Karen try to buy a ticket, don't let her in. Yeah. Because these people are going too far. At the end of the day, he's not here to spout your opinion. You're coming to see his opinions. He's the one on stage. It's his point of view you're listening to. And if you don't like his point of view, get up and leave. Corey Holcomb, his whole act is tearing women out the frame.
Yeah.
And I've seen women bolt up and tell they man, let's go.
You probably seen me there.
Because Corey takes them there.
Right.
But they don't go on his stage and stop his show. They leave. All that lady had to do, if she had some displeasure, was head to the car.
Just go.
Why would you interrupt? When you interrupt somebody's act like that, you're making the other people who paid to see him lose out on the show they came to see. That's right. You have now become the show, and nobody came to see you, Myrtle. So I don't even know why she's up on that stage. That's rude to all the other paying customers. Just
Yeah.
quietly leave. But see, security should have got her right
That
away.
was that
She
was
should
the
have never
whole
made it to the stage.
that's the other question I was going to ask you. Coy,
Yeah.
you know about this and security. They just let her. I mean, they were like, "Come on, please, come down. Come on, let's go. Come on, please. Come on, Karen. Come on." But it was like, "Get out the stage."
Right. Stop playing into the fact that this woman is quote unquote mild and deserves to be
And blonde
treated
and
like
blue-eyed
so
and
calmly and stuff while she's
Yeah.
interrupting a show. They do
Yeah.
this a lot with white women. No
They
offense
do.
to white women. This is what
Mm.
y'all get away with. We're tired of it.
Yeah.
Stop interrupting shows where you have no business being up there. And
A
security
friend of
needs to
mine
stop
named
looking at them like they're scared to ask the woman to leave just as you would do anybody else. Do
Yep,
your
a friend of
jobs.
mine who's a comic, he passed away, named Joe Recker. He was
Mhm.
a worst audience member is a drunk white woman.
Yeah,
And because they have no consequences for their action. Now they want to tell us to comply. We
right.
supposed to comply no matter what's being said to us, but they never comply in their everyday lives.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Are you fearful, Ali? I know you're from DC, so okay, I know you don't play. But have you ever had, where like, "Ooh, damn, I don't know." Any fear
Of what? Somebody
of
getting on stage?
somebody coming on stage? Yeah.
No, no. This is a more recent thing. This is a more recent thing of people feeling that empowered that they can just jump up on the stage. No, I haven't
Yeah.
experienced that.
Yeah. How about you,
Yeah,
Coy?
I
Have you
haven't
experienced
experienced it.
anything like this?
Not from a white woman, no. uh-uh.
What
No.
has anybody, not necessarily a white woman, has anybody come up on stage while you've been dancing?
Uh yeah, that's happened. I've had people come up on stage off dancing. I've had people come on. I used to have a music career for a while. I've had people come on stage while I was performing, singing, doing hip hop, playing instruments. It's something that happens. People get very, very excited to see you. So I'm not really
But not to
surprised.
tell you that your stuff is not good. Not to tell you I don't
No.
like the way you play. I don't like the music you chose.
Oh, I've heard people say things like that about my style of dance afterwards. And I say, okay, well, I don't care. I wasn't here for just you. There's other people that appreciate me. You don't have to appreciate me. So, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah. I know that our friends Sherry Shepherd and Kim Whitley have been on stage and something happened. I think it was when Kim was on stage and oh no, Sherry was on stage and she was taking grief for taking pictures at Ricky Harris's funeral, comedian Ricky Harris, and so she took a lot of heat for this, and they went to perform to work out one night, and they were giving Sherry a lot of grief and stuff from the audience, but Kim just got up and she was like, "FOI," she's just gonna stand there like, "What you got to say to my friend? You gonna say because you gonna come through me." But I've never seen anything like this before, where she just kind of ambled up on stage, and the next thing God bless Afian, because it could have gone really far to the other side.
Yeah, but see, Corey Holcomb would have tore her up with
Right,
words.
right,
So
yeah,
she really got a nice guy. That goes to show you he didn't deserve to be walked up on. The way he even handled her let you know his set couldn't have been that bad because he didn't immediately go off.
right. Well, he seems pretty confident in that, but you've not experienced like last night. Was there any conversation at the Laugh Factory? Because I just wonder, and maybe somebody who's listening to us can tell us what goes through your mind, or what people you've talked to say. I've had enough of this. I'm gonna tell them I don't like it. And it's like, really?
No, that was very bold. That was very, very, very bold to do that, because he really could have made her the show. And that's generally what happens. You want
Yeah,
to be the show, we're going to
yeah,
make you the show. And
right.
then she would have been crying and he would have looked really like the bad guy because he
Hmm.
made Karen cry.
Yeah.
So he was in a bad situation all the way around.
And she knew there was some Charlotte Bowen Bellamy on Facebook said during this pandemic, some people are not taking their meds or they can't afford to get their meds during the shutdown. Yeah.
And the
That's a
meds are so
big thing.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a big thing. And you also have people that feel like that. I know like there's a lot of different questionable things that are going on within our medical industry and stuff like that. But one of the things that is definitely not advised, especially with mental illness, is to self-medicate.
Medicate. Yep.
You definitely need to be on those medications to help you regulate. Now, after some time of being on that, you could probably talk with your doctor and what have you to figure out alternative solutions that include medication or that go more towards, holistic and to wean you off the medication and to put you on holistic. But it is never a good idea to self medicate, especially in the beginning or after you've already established that kind of routine.
Yeah.
And that was a good point, Coy. Also, they say don't mix your medicine with alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
So she could have had some pills and diluted them with liquor.
And that
And now they're
2-drink
not even
minimum.
effective anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a 2-drink minimum.
Yeah.
So she could have mixed some pills with the wrong liquor, and that's why she ended up on stage. She might not even remember getting on stage the next day. She had to watch the video and was like, that was me?
Brenda Ray on Facebook said, do they have a medication for white privilege or Karen-itis? I think we have lived through that, but she knew, because at one point as she was finally coming off stage and they said, come on, Karen. And she's like, and she recognized. So either she's been called that before or she knew what being called a Karen meant.
She's been called that before.
That's what I was right. I suspect
could have been her first time.
New. Yeah.
Especially if she was with her husband. He was like, oh God, here she goes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let them
just left him. She just left from getting kicked out to Dunkin' Donuts before she came to the club for being a Karen.
She just reported to the manager.
Well, this is taking displeasure to a whole nother level. And I mean, I can't imagine, Alycia, just being your routine and, you're having a good set and everything. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, just, or
takes you completely out of your act. Takes you. You can't even. And that's another thing. Once something like that happens in your show, you can't just go back to doing your act. It's a wrap.
Yeah,
like she's run the whole show. It's how do you continue on after something like that?
I think you kind of acknowledge it a little bit, make a joke out of it. Yeah. Go back to your story or go to the next story.
I don't know, Coy. I don't know.
That's what I would do.
You're gonna. He's gonna do his time. Now, if he's getting paid to do 45 minutes, he's gonna do 45 minutes. But now he's probably talking about her, referencing her. Bye, Karen. You didn't get the act you paid to get.
Right, right. And so, does the house say, okay, you all deserve another opportunity to come back, or
another bite at the apple? They might. They might offer you some free tickets for a future show. Yeah. If you complain. They're not just going to offer it out of the good
right. Not the comedy shows. They want them tickets. They want them 2-item minimums on the menu. Nah.
Yeah. They're not just going to jump on stage and say it. But if you complain, they'll try to come up with some sort of concession.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black people, but what's similar? Black folks, we're just not natural complainers.
That's true.
I had this white manager, and she told me how this was years ago. This was like maybe 2006. She told me how she always gets free flights on Southwest because she complains at the end of the flight, and then she ends up getting $75 credits. And I said, "Now I ain't never thought about complaining about no. I'm just so I said, you got a whole hard drive full of complaints." So I started doing it, and I started getting my credits. I said, "I'm gonna learn from these Karens."
Did you really, Alycia? That is great.
Absolutely, because there's a contact us link on Southwest Airlines.
Yeah,
just go ahead and tell them this flight they ain't give me my peanuts. So you can find a reason to complain.
And Lord knows these days where they are assaulting the flight attendants and all of that. Lord knows people could be just writing up a storm, texting and sending emails up a storm in order to get another $7,500, $250 credit.
And they'll give it to you.
Wow.
Because they don't want to lose the business.
Yeah. Coy, have you ever done that? Have you ever complained and gotten something in response?
Yeah, it's been a couple of times, but I mean, the complaint was legit. Like, I think at one point in time, I had gotten a product and it was like a food product, probably like some chips or something like that. Open it up, there was nothing in the bag. I'm
Oh,
like, what the heck?
okay.
And the only
Oh,
chip was like sealed into the seal of the bag. I'm like, yo, hold on, I ain't
wow.
getting nothing
Wow.
in here. So like, I've gotten like
That was
free
that
stuff
gives
out
new
of
meaning
that.
to the word airbag.
Right. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just, stuff like that. But I don't try to go out of my way and complain just to get free stuff. Now, I have seen people that do that, but all the people I've seen that do that are white.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say, hey, this company has this complaint line, and if you send in the UPC code and the label and the receipt, they're going to send you a coupon and free products. And I'm like, it's just, to me, it's not worth it. I feel like I'm wasting the company's time and resources doing that.
Somebody has a movie about that, and I can't remember, but it'll come to mind. It's time for us to move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. For folks who are not familiar, please listen as we talk about what's in our newsletter. We seek to continue the work of Tom Joyner over the years and to super serve the African American community with our news items as well as entertainment. And it is we need you to know it's an absolutely free subscription. Please go to SybilWilkes.com and sign up. Just give us your name and your email address. You don't have to fill out anything about your birthday, unless you want to shout out, and we'll do that for you too. But it's a lot of it's a labor of love, and luckily we have some wonderful young people, Alycia, who are working with us now, and the first of which was young Coy, and coming on board as our social justice activist. And Coy has a story, a simply tragic story, and this is how we are here around What You Need to Know, Alycia. Um, because she does have all of these serious social justice. You're like, are you okay? Do you need to do something a little lighter, or maybe something that's not quite so heavy? Because the stories that affect our people are so dramatic, and not very often they are horrific. So it's not a lighthearted story when you're talking about social justice. But this just breaks my heart. Coy tells the story of a 10-year-old girl, and her name is Brittany Titchener. Tell us the story, Coy.
Well, actually, I think we got a typo here. Her name is Isabella
Oh,
Titchener,
okay.
and her mother's name is Brittany.
Her mom was Brittany. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, so
And
Isabella.
she's a 10-year-old autistic student who attended school at the Davis School District in Utah, one of few Black kids there. This child, and I just want to stop and say that if anybody if you or anybody that you know or anybody that you suspect is having suicidal thoughts, I want you to stop right now and contact the suicide hotline. This is something very, very serious.
And Coy, it's not just a person of a certain age.
Right.
This is, pay attention when your children, when your nieces and nephews are talking about this, because this child was 10
years old. She endured a lot of bullying at her school, and also felt like the teachers didn't care for her. She told her mom that, the teacher greets all the other students but ignores her. There was a point in time where the teacher was complaining in class, saying that the students didn't smell good. And so at that moment, the students all started blaming and teasing Isabella, and that prompted her to take air freshener to school and use that as perfume. Her sister was also called the N-word during the school year. Her mom went to the school, complained to school officials who were of no help. So, this has been going on since the beginning of the school year. This child is in 5th grade. So, it's a pretty pivotal moment in a child's life.
Mm-hmm.
And over a weekend, she was discussing with her mom, doing a book report. The mom went to go get colored pencils, markers, was getting ready to help her. She just kissed her mom on the cheek, said, "I love you," went in her room. Moments later, 2 of her siblings found her hanging in her closet. She had committed suicide. 10 years old. 10 years old. I don't understand. 10 years old. There's no reason why a child should feel this type of pain and this type of distress and this type of depression to the point where they think the solution is to take their own lives. Now, in this particular school district, there was a investigation that was done by the Department of Justice that basically found over hundreds of cases between 2015 and 2020 that the Davis School District failed to
In Utah.
recognize, yes, in Utah, they were ineffective in recognizing that students were being racially targeted. They did nothing about these situations, and it
Mm.
basically left them vulnerable to continued harassment, as stated in their report. And so now there's a GoFundMe that's set up for this young child, but it just goes to show that this school district in particular has been very, very complicit, and they have also been very, it sounds like, encouraging of this type of racist behavior. And not only is this happening to Black students, but it's happening to Asian American students as well. And so just with this kind of environment going on, it just kind of makes you wonder what the heck is going on in Utah, and what is making it so they're not stopping this type of behavior. Like they're literally
Well,
allowing this culture to breed and grow up, and
yeah.
allowing these kids to grow up into adults that think this is okay, and it's not okay.
Well, as a comic, the one good thing about being a comic is you get to travel the world. You get to travel to all the states if you so choose. And I've been to Utah, and it's extremely white. It's heavily Mormon. And if
Mm-hmm.
people know about the Mormon religion, they say some bad things about Black people in that book. So it's you're not going to get the diversity. You're not going to. I wouldn't raise Black kids in Utah. There's a few other places: Wyoming, Idaho, Vermont. You're not going to have that heavy cultural support that you need. And when your child is out there vulnerable like that, you're not going to get the support. It's systemic. So they knew what was going on, and they looked the other way because they're upholding a system of white supremacy. And this is what it looks like. It affects our children who are, that 10-year-old didn't realize just how permanent hanging was because she's 10.
Yeah.
They don't realize this is a permanent solution to a temporary situation.
Right.
And it's so sad because she was only 10. Her mind didn't really know the severity. She just knew I wanted to be out of this pain. And she should have never been allowed to feel that kind of pain. Once it was brought to the attention that your child is not safe here, it's time to get up and move.
Yeah.
Because this situation is going to change that district. Because change happens from within, and the people within aren't interested in making any changes.
Right.
Coy, if I'm not mistaken, you did a story a few weeks ago, and it was with a family in Hawaii, and the child was being bullied, and it was a racial situation as well. In this case, the mother was able to move the child to live with relatives. What, in California, maybe, or something like that?
Yes, and the child was also autistic, and what her
Mm.
outlet was a creative outlet. She drew a picture of the bully, and this turned into the school
She
calling the
got punished.
police
She got punished
and
for the
having her
picture
arrested.
that she
A
drew of the
child.
bully, Alycia.
Wow. Wow. See, I can't understand it. It's growing up right outside of DC. Some people thought that the Cosby Show was a Black doctor married to a Black lawyer. That's all. That's DC.
Right. All day.
So for us, we weren't even. We was like, "What's the big deal? This is normal."
Yeah.
But if you grow up somewhere where you don't have heavily Black influenced people and a culture that Black kids need to thrive, and you can't thrive in certain environments, and those are her formative years.
It breaks your heart.
You got to protect the babies.
They have to protect the babies at all costs, and I'm sorry that that this family didn't have anyone to help them and to protect them and to listen to and make changes. And hopefully Isabella's family will get the help that they deserve, like for her sister, and that these things and that the Isabellas of the future don't have to die like this either.
Yeah, the mom did vow to speak up for her daughter, and I think she started a movement called Stand for Izzy to try to make a greater awareness for this type of situation so it doesn't happen again. But definitely prayers to her parents and to her young siblings.
It's just I'm telling you, just when you think it can't get any more ridiculous, it does. And ridiculous, I don't mean that in a funny haha way. Just the state of our world is just so distressing. Speaking of, the judge dismissed a weapons charge in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial just before closing arguments today. Closing arguments about the teen who was then 17 years old, killed Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum, as well as shot another man. He killed two, wounded a third person last year in the protest in the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The gunman, although the judge probably would not refer to him as the gunman, he would probably refer to him as the victim, which should have been the reference to those who were killed. The prosecutor, as he closed out his stand today, he said, called Kyle Rittenhouse a gunman with no honor or legal authority to kill two men during the protest. The assistant district attorney challenged Rittenhouse's claim of self-defense in gunning down the 26-year-old Huber and the 36-year-old Rosenbaum. He said, so consider, for example, whether or not it's heroic or honorable to provoke and shoot unarmed people. They enjoy the thrill of going around and telling people what to do without the courage or the honor to back it up, without the legal authority to do so. One of the discussions, Alycia and Coy, that you all probably have seen is Kyle Rittenhouse, the caricatures of Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand last week.
Oh, goodness. The crocodile tears.
Yes, exactly. The crocodile tears. So the question is, I'm thinking maybe all of us did not buy it. But do you know of anyone who did and felt compelled by his testimony?
No.
Not one person. First of all, I was looking for the tears, all that noise and all that face folding up, looking like a Chinese Sharpei. I was like, if you don't sit your fake behind down somewhere.
Looking like a Sharpei.
Like this,
he wasn't even turning red.
Wasn't turning red. What it was so poorly manufactured. But I call him Kyle Rittenhouse because what he did was absolutely ridiculous. First of all, we know as African Americans, if we're in the commission of a crime, everything else that happens falls on us. Mm-hmm. He was in the commission of a crime having that assault weapon underage. So whatever he does with that weapon should be tacked on to the rest of the punishment. It shouldn't be, he had no choice. He wouldn't have been in this fight if he didn't have a weapon.
If he hadn't traveled the miles from Illinois to Wisconsin.
If his inbred mama hadn't drove him there.
And then there's that.
To create all that havoc. So my thing is, if he didn't have that gun, it would have been fisticuffs. Mm-hmm. And that's all it would have been. He'd have gone home with a couple lumps on his head and everybody would have lived. You know, so I don't agree with all that.
He picked up a fire extinguisher, put it down, and then brought his gun and did the deed.
But all that was premeditated. You don't travel that far without the intention of creating havoc. Yep. You know, and but those people with what they call them kick man, and them people was doing everything to try to stop him. And I said, y'all bold, because I'm not chasing after no fool with an assault rifle and I'm unarmed. I said the meth is plentiful in Kenosha.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who the heck chasing down armed people with a rifle, and you have nothing but your bare hands.
A semi-automatic weapon. Just call it an automatic weapon.
I guess they felt like they had to do something because nobody was doing anything. This child knew what he was doing. He used his money to buy this gun, have somebody go buy it for him during the pandemic because he was getting, he used it off of government money. And the person that bought it should go down too. The person that bought it for him should go down. The mama should go down. Yeah. And he should go down. Mm-hmm. Once again, protecting a white woman, that is the catalyst of all this.
The National Guard is standing by. As I said, the closing arguments have been completed today. The prosecution, then the defense, and the prosecution was able to rebut. So that's done. And so I guess, I don't know, I didn't see it at the very end, if the judge said to the jury, okay, now you begin. But here's the interesting thing. So they had 18 people who listened to this trial, right, as the jurors. But 12 of them are going to make the final decision. I
bet you the one black one don't make it in that last 12.
How is this even possible?
Here's the thing. They put it in a drum like they're playing bingo.
Oh.
And they pull their numbers out. And these 12 people will be the ones to make the decisions in the
This is the American judicial system, people. They're finna put numbers in a hat.
Yeah, hey, it's Wisconsin there.
This is...
what in the Mayberry is going on here?
So we're supposed to have confidence in this system. This is the system that works.
But this is the same America that can't decide on a permanent host for Jeopardy. We are in trouble.
And this is the America that where they vote more for The Voice and American Idol than they do for president of the
Presidential
United States.
elections. Yep, the president need to go on The Voice.
I think LeVar Burton is the solution to all this.
There you go. He's the answer to all our problems, Coy.
Yes.
Yes.
One other thing I do want to mention to you, our friend Tracy Scott of the Texas Black Women's PAC has an article in today's newsletter about 5 Black women who allege discrimination and racism at Texas Christian University, TCU, in Fort Worth, Texas. They reached a settlement. It's kind of a strange case in which they do charge and allege the discrimination and racism, but what the outcome was, we're still not quite sure. But just what she does want people to know is that you do have a voice and you should speak out against these things. And so this case was settled through mediation according to the court documents, but the terms of the settlement are unknown. So that, and one more thing, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy says that don't you worry about a thing. Your packages are going to get there on time for the holiday season. No matter what he's done to really muck up the system, and I said muck up the system, he is going to make sure that everything is going to be A-okay. So
there's a lot of things I still have yet to get in the mail. It's crazy.
I know. It's that supply chain, Coy. I'm telling you. All right. So let us move to entertainment. And is anybody as excited as I am? Serena Williams is. Because tennis champ Naomi Osaka appears to be headed back to Grand Slam play. And so she put a message out there, and it looks like she's going to be ready for the Australian Open, which I believe January, so month after.
That's exciting. And I thought you were going to mention Venus and talk about the King Richard premiere.
I haven't. That was next on my list.
Oh, that's what I'm waiting for. Woo!
Yeah. And so Coy, are you excited about? Are you a Naomi Osaka fan? Or are you a tennis fan?
Not really a tennis fan, but I am I like to cheer Naomi on. I always like to cheer for the Black people in sports.
Right.
Just in general, especially when the sports don't have a lot of Black participants. So I think that's major when we do have somebody that is in the sport and that is also immensely talented. And I'm very, very happy because she did take time off for her mental health. So to see that she's going back to the sport that she loves, that she's great at, I'm happy. Yeah. I'm excited for her.
I hope that things go well for her. As our friend Niecy Nash once said, because he's Black. That's why I cheer for him. Okay, so King Richard is the movie that Serena Williams has played a part in bringing to the screen. With Will Smith playing their father, Richard Williams, and just the promos so far are just so endearing and so wonderful. And to see their story on screen, I'm like you, Alycia. I can't wait.
Yeah, I want to go sit in an all-Black area, a Black movie theater, because I want to hear us hollering at that screen like we in our living room. So I got to see that with my people. I got a Fire Stick, so I could see it in the house, but I'm going out in public risking the pandemic because I got to see this with my people. We got to yell at the screen.
I know. Southside, here I come.
Okay. Exactly. And also, I don't know if there's a movie theater in Compton, but that would seem to be the place to go where it all started.
It's going to be Crunk.
For the Williams family. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm excited about King Richard. I wish I had seen The Harder They Fall with an audience. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But I wish I had seen the Black Western with an audience.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too. I felt the same way.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. So ladies, let us wrap this up. And Alycia, how can people reach you? How can they stay on top of
They can reach me on Instagram at Alycia Cooper 2, ALYCIA Cooper and the number 2. I'm on Facebook. You can just type in Alycia Cooper fan page, and Twitter at Alycia Cooper. So, and also I have my films on my website. You can see all of my films, and the website is AlyciaCooper.net.
And you're going to see her at the awards of the Emmys, especially for the Emmys coming up, because I really think that you have tremendous talent, and we are wishing you well in your directorial career. Really.
Thank you, Sybil. And so nice meeting you, Coy.
Nice meeting you too, Alycia. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you. You too.
Young Coy, you have anything coming up?
Not
More
that I know
adulting.
of. I'm just trying
More
to figure out when
adulting.
I'm going skating this week.
You getting back out there, huh?
Yeah. I'm getting back out there just a little bit. It's been a little over a year since I started. I've gotten all right. I just need to be a little bit more consistent about it. And so I'm just trying to figure out how do I want to incorporate that over the week coming up. I've also been invited to produce 2 different shows. One is called ATL in 60 Seconds, and it is a
Nice.
food blog that's here in Atlanta. It has a pretty big following, and they're moving towards creating a lot more content in which I will be behind the scenes helping to coordinate, produce, and I may be an on-screen talent as showcasing some of my chef talents,
That
which would be
is
very, very
awesome.
good.
Awesome.
And I
That
just
is
got
awesome.
invited to also help produce and direct a reality show that's going to feature dancers. And the funny thing is, a
Woo!
lot of people think that, hey, I want to do a reality show. I'm just going to show up at this location and just invite people, and then we're just going to do this. I asked them, hey, do you have any logistics laid out? Do you have the set, the sound people, the camera people? Do you have a
That's what
storyline?
they
Do you
need you
have,
for.
yeah, you haven't done any of this? Okay,
Yeah.
listen, we need to sit down and have a meeting. So we're
Okay.
just not out here guessing.
So that brings me to Yogi's Jewel. Okay. And this is for you 2 ladies. Today's Yogi's Jewel is you only have a certain amount of time to do what you say you want to do. A certain amount
This
of
is true.
time to do what you say you want to do. So my
Mhm.
2 talented friends, go forth and do it.
For sure, right
Thank
now.
you so
you.
much. Alycia, please come back again. We want to
Absolutely. It's
stay in
always
touch.
fun here.
Thank you so much. And Coy, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. Take care, everybody. Aloha.